Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a wild, multi-layered cultural collision that recently went absolutely viral. We're breaking down a tense media clash between radio host Charlemagne the God, UFC CEO Dana White, and the heavy meta-commentary that followed from YouTube creator The Officer Tatum. You know, what started as an interview meant to be about sports and business rapidly morphed into this fierce, intense debate about political accountability, personal loyalty, and what it really means to be a CEO today. It's honestly a perfect case study in how modern media operates. So, when you strip away all that viral noise, the shouting, and the hot takes, it really boils down to one absolutely crucial question. Can personal friendship survive partisan politics? That right there is the philosophical core of today's debate. It's the kind of question that literally divides dinner tables and, as we'll see, deeply divides public figures trying to navigate today's media landscape.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the Breakfast Club clash, Charlemagne's policy critique, Dana White's personal loyalty, the UFC origin story, Tatum's meta-commentary, and we'll wrap it all up with friendship versus politics. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Breakfast Club clash. This is the exact moment where political accountability met personal loyalty.
Right off the bat, we saw a massive collision of two completely opposing worldviews. Charlemagne's thesis is basically this: if you're a public figure with a powerful friend, in this case Donald Trump, you have a moral obligation to hold them politically accountable for the public good. Meanwhile, Dana White's thesis is the complete opposite. He believes that true decades-long friendship completely transcends political alignment or holding public office. They were essentially speaking two completely different languages, which totally set the stage for a fiery back and forth. Section 2. Charlemagne's policy critique. Now let's look at exactly how Charlemagne challenged that apolitical stance.
Charlemagne didn't just ask vague questions. He came with data. He immediately pressed Dana White with a massive metric, a 62% disapproval rating. He argued that, mathematically speaking, a huge chunk of the country, and crucially the working-class folks who are actually buying UFC pay-per-views, are fundamentally unhappy. He used that 62% to ask a really pointed question. If the majority of people are hurting, why can't you tell your friend he's failing them?
And he definitely didn't stop at approval ratings. Charlemagne fired off this rapid barrage of specific macroeconomic and policy critiques. We're talking about the handling of the Iran war, rising inflation and cost of living, rising tariffs hitting household goods, spiked utility bills, and a 9% failure to extend the Affordable Care Act, which he stressed is an absolute lifeline for working-class healthcare. Basically, his strategy was to take the macro pain of everyday voters, plop it right on a CEO's desk, and demand that Dana leverage his personal access to advocate for the public.
This whole exchange hit a boiling point when Charlemagne dropped a culturally charged term, a glazer. For context, that's slang for a yes man or someone who just overly praises a powerful friend without ever giving them honest, critical feedback. By using that word, Charlemagne was directly challenging Dana's integrity, warning him against blindly supporting a politician. It really pushed the conversation to the edge.
Section 3. Dana White's personal loyalty. Pivoting away from policy, let's examine Dana White's worldview.
To counter that 62% disapproval rating, Dana brought up his own powerful number, 25. That's 25 solid years of friendship with Donald Trump. For Dana, a quarter-century of personal history simply wipes out any fluctuating polling data or current economic stats. He completely anchors his loyalty in time and personal connection, not in someone's political performance.
Dana's entire mindset is perfectly captured in this one quote. He just happened to become the president of the United States. Think about the psychology behind that. He is aggressively separating the man from the political office. To the rest of the world, Donald Trump is a polarizing political figure, right? But to Dana White, he's just a guy he's known for decades who happened to get a really high-profile, high-stress job. Dana flat out rejected the idea that his friendship should change just because of his buddy's job title.
Now, this detail actually surprised a lot of listeners. Dana's own political self-identification. Because he's so loud and public about supporting a prominent right-wing figure, a lot of people just assume Dana is a far-right ideologue. But during the interview, he explicitly stated that he actually considers himself right down the middle, or maybe even leaning a little liberal. It completely reinforces his argument that his support has absolutely nothing to do with shared partisan ideology. For him, it's 100% about personal loyalty.
Section 4. The UFC origin story. To really grasp this unbreakable loyalty, we have to go back in time a bit.
So in the past, the UFC was essentially dead in the water.
I mean, they were on their last leg, viewed as a fringe spectacle, and literally had no money to put on a show or even find a venue. The massive turning point, Donald Trump stepped up. He provided a venue and gave the brand legitimacy when absolutely nobody else would touch them. Fast forward to the present day, and the UFC is a multi-billion-dollar global juggernaut. For Dana White, that early support forged a lifelong debt of gratitude. From his point of view, you just don't turn your back on the guy who saved your business just because the political winds happen to shift.
Section 5. Tatum's meta-commentary. Now let's bring in a third perspective. YouTube commentator the Officer Tatum. So Tatum watched this interview and was absolutely livid at how Charlemagne treated Dana White. He said, "It would have been some furniture moving in there talking crazy like that." Talk about a vivid metaphor. Tatum felt that accusing a highly successful, generous CEO of being a yes man or a glazer was so deeply disrespectful that it practically warranted a physical altercation. In Tatum's eyes, Charlemagne totally failed to put the proper respect on Dana White's name, especially considering everything the man has built.
Tatum also pushed right back against the economic data Charlemagne used. He pretty much dismissed the inflation and cost of living complaints as just a temporary spike. He argued that things really aren't as bad as claimed, anecdotally pointing out that folks are still out there buying merchandise and taking trips to Disneyland. But more than that, Tatum felt it was incredibly unfair to bludgeon a sports CEO with unverified statistics on a podcast, basically ambushing a guy who openly admits he doesn't spend his days staring at political polling stats.
And honestly, you just got to take a quick second to appreciate the absolute whiplash of modern internet commentary here. Right in the middle of this fiery defense of Dana White and a heated dive into macroeconomics, Tatum flawlessly pivots straight into a sponsored ad read for Ethos Life Insurance. He literally goes from shouting about respect directly to unexpected tragedies hurt family finances, seamlessly pitching up to $3 million in coverage in 10 minutes. It is a brilliant and honestly kind of funny reminder of the reality of the creator economy. Even in the middle of a culture war, the bills still got to get paid.
Section 6. Friendship versus politics. Let's zoom out and synthesize the big themes of this media clash.
We are looking at a massive core tension here. On one side, you have the modern public expectation, the idea that CEOs must protect their brand and take full responsibility for who they support. I mean, Charlemagne even point-blank asked Dana if he felt responsible for people's healthcare getting cut. But on the other side, you have the private reality. Greedy business survival often relies heavily on deep, 25-year loyalties that were forged in the trenches. Dana White simply refuses to sacrifice a relationship that saved his company just to satisfy today's expectation of political purity. Which leaves us with this final, provocative question. Does giving a platform or giving your public friendship to a politician actually make you responsible for their policies? Charlemagne the God clearly argues yes, it makes you complicit. Dana White adamantly argues no, a friend is just a friend. And commentators like Officer Tatum stand ready to defend those long-standing loyalties against intense media scrutiny. It's a complex debate with zero easy answers, but for sure, it's one that will keep defining our modern media landscape. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.